Welcome to the Latah Valley Fiber Co. podcast. My name is Tiffany. On today's episode, I talk about some finished objects as well as some works in progress. So, if that interests you, let's get started. First of all, you can find me on Instagram at Latah Valley Fiber Co. You can find my shop online at latahvalleyfiberco.etsy.com. And if you'd like to direct message me, you can do that at lvfiberco@gmail.com. Okay, that's it for all the boring stuff. Let's talk about what I'm wearing. This cardigan pattern is by Andrea Mowry, and it's called the Comfort Fade Cardigan. And this is one of my first garments, so there's a lot of things wrong with it. I didn't check gauge. I used the wrong yarn weight. Maybe not the wrong yarn weight, but the wrong type of yarn for this project. This is a single ply yarn, which doesn't really hold up to wear. There's a lot of pilling on this particular garment. I have de-pilled it twice, and again, this is one of my first garments that I knit, so I've had it for a couple of years anyway. Actually longer than a couple, maybe 5 or 6. Time flies, you know? Okay, so this is a single ply. It's from, I don't know the colorway, from Malabrigo. And the reason I picked that color, that yarn, was because of the color. I liked how the blue had green and gray and then this darker bit in it. The problem with not doing a gauge swatch is I didn't know how much yarn I needed because I didn't know how to read patterns either. And I know that information now is always in the front. So I got, I think, 3 skeins of the yarn and thought, oh, that'll be enough. Well, it's too small. And I ended up having to go back to the store and get, the yarn store, and get another skein, which ended up being from a different dye lot, so it is darker in through this section here, and then on the sleeves. Now this was supposed to be a fade by Andrea Mowry, and I didn't initially want to do that, but the yarn itself did that to some degree. So I got a lot of wear out of this, even though it was too small. I learned a lot of things, like it's really important when you're picking up for a shawl collar that you pick up the correct amount of stitches. I picked up too many, and so the front of my cardigan comes down like this, so in the back and then down in the front, and it doesn't come towards the front, it's on the side because it's too small. So, but I do wear it a lot, especially around the house. It's really warm. And have I ever washed this? I think I've washed it once, just, you know, because I wore it a lot in the beginning. So it's held up really well, I think. So, Comfort Fade Cardigan by Andrea Mowry. That's what I'm wearing today. Okay, let's talk about finished objects. Okay, I have a couple finished objects, and they are socks. Surprise, surprise. I am knitting my husband 24 pairs of socks for him to open Christmas Advent 2024, and I am on I've done January and February, and I've started March. That's in whips, which I'll show you later. But I have finished his February socks. And couple of them, oh, well, one pair you haven't even seen. I got it done in 2 weeks, so, but we'll start with the pair you have seen. And it's the pink heart socks that I was working on. One of these I blocked, but the other one I didn't. But I I had to make a trip down to Boise, Idaho for my aunt's memorial service, and so I knit a sock while I was traveling. We drove, so I had lots of hours down and lots of hours back, and I didn't block that one, which is this one here, which is why it's not staying up. Okay, here they are. Got 2 of them. Yay! They're very bright. And I did a heart motif on, I actually forgot on the second sock. So I just put a couple near the top, near the cuff. Oh, and there's one on this side here. So this one has it on the foot as well as the leg. All right, so the information about this one is that let's see, heart socks. Yep. Okay, I just used a vanilla sock pattern. Not a pattern, I just did a vanilla sock, which means you knit. I did my normal toe, which is, I cast on 24 stitches, I increased to 68, and then began knitting in the round. I used US needle size 2, and I started at 2.8, which is pretty good. The yarn I used was Cascade yarn, Heritage, color 5789, lot number 1, pink. I finished it on 220, so that's not bad. And I had to increase, if you've been around since January, you'll know I had a lot of problems with my January socks, because these are fingering weight socks, and I was trying to do a little bit tighter. My socks previously have been a little loose at 72 stitches, so I did 68 stitches, and then at the cuff I increased those 4 additional stitches, did the cuff, and then bound off. They fit over my husband's heel perfectly doing it that way, so I did do that. Okay, I had some issues with this yarn. This I've never used before, and I will not use it again. It was super splitty. I do a lot of not looking at my project while I'm knitting, and this I couldn't do that because I would split the strand of yarn, and then when I came back around to it I had lots of problems, and I'd have to drop the stitch and pick it back up, and anyway, it didn't, this is not good yarn for knitting if you're not going to be looking at it. So what else? Oh, I should have used a smaller needle, maybe a size 1, because the fabric is very see-through, and I wouldn't be surprised if these socks didn't last very long. So if they do, I'll be very surprised. So that's the vanilla heart socks for for February. And then this next pair you all have not seen because I cast on after my last podcast. Let's see, what did I do here? Okay, I cast on 217, and this is also Cascade Heritage yarn, but it's the wave, what do they call that when it's Cascade Heritage, but it's the same brand but different yarn. Yeah. Anyway, and these are also not blocked because I don't often block socks because they're going to be worn and then they're going to go into the wash. Okay, so I didn't use a pattern. I just made up this purl bump feature on here because I was kind of bored, and that'll come into play here in a minute when I talk about future knitting. So it's Cascade Yarn Heritage Wave in the color 510. I did the same. I cast on 24 stitches, increased to 68, and then began knitting in the round. And when I started doing that, I knit this. I'm going to have to do a video because you're not going to be able to see the stitch. But I did a purl stitch just randomly throughout the whole sock. Then I did use, oh no, I did not, which that explains why they're a little sloppier. I take all that back. I cast on 24 stitches, okay, but then I increased to 72 and then began knitting. So I didn't have to do any increases here, I just bound off. US 1.5, which is a 2.5 millimeter. I started the heel at 7 inches, slightly stretched, and then I did a shadow wrap short row heel, and then began knitting in the round. And I did the patterning, which is on the top, the instep, but not the bottom. I started adding that across the leg as well. I finished these on 224. These were really fast for me for some reason. They just were a dream to knit. So I would use this yarn again. Again, the Cascade Yarn Heritage in Wave. Didn't have the splitting issue at all, and I could catch the stitches and just go to town on it. So I do like this. Oh, and it's a color changing, not color changing, it's a gradient. So it started here in this gray and moved up to the red. And I really liked that too. So these are kind of some fun, funky socks. Is that it? Yep. Oh, and this is number 4 of 24. So I have a long way to go. But in my whips, I've already started for March the first pair of socks, and I almost have them done. So I like to work ahead because when I get behind, that's when things get stressful. Okay, so is that it for finished objects? Yes. Okay. Is that it? Yep. Okay, let's move on to whips. And in this section, I have the socks, the Agnes sweater, my temperature blanket. Yeah, let's get started. So I have my socks just kind of hanging out in this bag that my sister made for me a number of years ago. I don't know what pattern she used, if a pattern at all. She's pretty crafty that way. Let's see. These, oh, this is a patterned pair of socks because I was getting bored just doing vanilla socks and then throwing in my own thing. So I actually am doing a pattern. This is the Wish You Were Here socks, and they're by the Kitchen Sink Shop. I will list everything down below in the description. The yarn I'm using is Malabrigo Ultimate Sock in the Camaleon colorway. I have used this before. This is a great sock yarn. In fact, the gray pair that I knit in January is also the Malabrigo Ultimate Sock. I am following the pattern this time to a T. So this pattern is cuffed down, and I cast on, because it's cuffed down, you start with your number of stitches. So I started with 72 stitches. I'm using the needle US 1 which is a 2.25 millimeter, and I love the fabric that is yielding. The only thing is I don't think you can see the pattern. It's basically just up the front of the leg, foot and leg. This it's not really even a cable, it's more lace, but because of the yarn you can't really see it unless you're right here. So I will take a picture and maybe insert that here so that you can see it. Okay, so you start cuff down. So you cast on, actually the pattern doesn't do 72 inches, it does 64, but I needed 72, so that's what I cast on. And I did a 1x1 rib, and then you immediately start the lace pattern, which is actually running right up the top here. And then you knit however long you want your leg to be, which I did. I just kind of guessed that it would be about this long. I don't know how many rounds that is. I just thought, okay, that seems good. Then you do a short row heel flap. You do a turn and then a gusset as you're knitting the leg here, or the foot. And then you do a decrease along the toe, which actually is a little bit nicer than my increases on the toe for when I do toe up. So I am actually liking this a lot, switching it just helps my mind kind of be more engaged, and it's fun to do things that you don't normally do in order to change it up and really challenge yourself. So I don't normally do cuff down, I do toe up. But this was really an enjoyable process. So I highly recommend this pattern. And so I have one sock done. I cast this on 2/24. And I have the second one here. This is a DPN cozy that my husband made, and he actually has made several of these that I have for sale in my shop. So if you're interested, there's this brown color and then a kind of rainbow wild color in there, which is fun. Oop. Okay, so I'm on the heel flap, so I've got kind of a mess going on here. Same thing, cast on 72 stitches, and then I knit, because I didn't measure this, I had to just hold it up, and that was about right, so I started the heel flap here, and so on the heel flap you just work back and forth, and I am to the point. I needed 16 rounds, and so I'm at that point now, and then I'm going to do the heel turn and then pick up along the side and do the gusset. So I should have these done. They actually work up really fast because it is mostly just knitting. So, what else can I say about these? I think that's it actually. So, I am slightly ahead of my March socks, which is okay because it's better to be ahead than behind. Okay, so that's it for my sock whips, and I actually haven't started the other pair for March yet. I printed off some patterns that I'm going to show you here in a moment, but let's continue on with my whips. My next whip is my Agnes sweater by Camilla Bad. I'm going to keep it kind of brief because I have filled in a lot of information in previous episodes, so if you want to check those out, you can. This sweater, I did have a bit of a rough start, but I have since recovered from that, and it's well underway. In fact, I'm into the body here as I'm going to show you. Let's see. Okay, the black yarn is Malabrigo Arroyo black. The green yarn is hand spun from me. It's a merino and tweed. And then the third color is some sock yarn that I held double. I can't remember because it was just leftovers from a pair of my husband's socks. I use needle size, in the increase, yes. So 211 is when I cast this on. And I increased the needle size to US 6, which is a 4mm. And then I doubled the black yarn, casting on for the size large. Here we go. I'll probably sit about there. I love this sweater. It is going to be so warm and cozy, and I'm really glad I picked these colors for the yoke. I'm really, this was a good choice to put the orange in there as well. Although my plan was to just do green all the way through, I felt like maybe I would run out of the green. So I added the orange, and that was a good option. So I have split for sleeves. So they're just on waist yarn here. And then I'm knitting the body, and you're supposed to knit 11 inches before starting the ribbing. So I don't know, I'm maybe 5 inches here. I did do, on my last sweater by Camilla Bad, I did, which was the field sweater, I did some increases on the side just to add, I'm a little heavier around my middle area, and so I just need a little bit more ease so that it's not so snug. So this is not in the pattern, but I did 3 increases, 2. 3. You can see them here, but they'll be under my arm, so hopefully you won't see them. So this knits up really fast. I did the size 4, the 4mm for the whole colorwork section as well, and I didn't decrease down a needle size for the body because I was liking the fabric that it was making. It will be a little bit lighter here and heavier here, obviously, because of the color work. So I thought maybe it would be a good balance. We'll see if that turns out long term, who knows. So I did this tweed yarn here is merino, alpaca, silk, and tweed. So I don't know what the breakdowns are of that, but I dyed it this silvery gray color because I felt like the color work is kind of the statement, and the rest of the sweater is just, you know, to help boost that. But the color work is really what needs to stand out, so that's what I did. I should have, I've been working on this. This is really easy because you're just knitting the body, so there's a lot of just knitting in the round forever and ever and ever and ever. So it's pretty mindless, which is nice. It's really fast. So I am enjoying it a lot. What else? Well, really nothing else until I do the sleeves, probably. So maybe in a couple weeks I'll be to the sleeves. That will be fun. Okay, my last work in progress is my temperature blanket, and it's exploding out of my bag. So I have another one of these bags that is ginormous, so I need to go find that. Go find that. And I actually had to pull out quite a bit of my yarn cakes so that my blanket could fit in there. I still have a couple, but anyway, let's see. Here's the front. And as you can see, I'm into some new colors. The gray here, the two lighter grays are new colors. And then it got cold again. So the lighter gray is warmer colors. I think it's into the 50s. And then the last one here is a 50. So this is where I was 2 weeks ago. And I'm going to move that up. Actually, you probably don't really need to move this up. You can, it's going to be the same actually it may not be. I might get behind. Okay, so I'll keep moving it up. There we go. Okay. So that was maybe 4 inches. I am caught up. So 2024 is a leap year, but 2013 was not. So I have an extra day of just, there's nothing going on. I am 1 day behind. The 28th is not on here. So I'll catch up on that today and then be all set for March. So I really love this blanket. I had a lot of problems initially starting out, but it's growing on me a lot. So if you ever have an opportunity to do a temperature blanket, I highly recommend it. In fact, I'd love to show you my husband's temperature blanket. He is a bit back here in January still because he is also doing leather working, and that kind of occupies his mind right now. So he does say, however, that he will be caught up by the end of the year, and he is doing 2024, which will be fun. So that's it for my temperature blanket. I really like it. It's so soft and squishy. Oh, the yarn I'm using is Woodland Tweed. by Knit Picks, and it has wool, alpaca, and tweed in it. Okay, that is it for the blanket. What else do I have? Oh, I have a little bit of spinning, so let's talk about that. Okay, so on my spinning, I started this, let's see here. I started this on, no, I finished this on 228, so I've been spinning it for a bit. It kind of got left on my wheel and kind of forgotten about. Not really, I've been staring at it going, I really need to get on that. I really need to get on that. So I've made time for it. The Roving is by Rusty Spur Creations. They're out of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I spun this singly in a lace weight, as close as I could get, and then chain plied it together. And a chain ply is three plying it while spinning it together. The weight that I got was DK 11 wraps per inch. The yardage I got was 170. So here we go. Now I had spun this consecutively down the braid, or down the roving, so that the blue was with the blue, the orange was with the orange, the gray was with the gray. And there is, when I was chain plying it, I really focused on making sure that those colors stayed with each other. However, there is some cross-contamination, because that's just the nature of it. So I really like it. I have not washed it yet or thwacked it, which is recommended to kind of help the fibers relax. So I am going to do that today and then hang it up to dry. And it feels really nice. I did a great job, if I do say so myself. So I don't yet know what I'm going to use this for. My thought was either to add it into colorwork sweater, and I have a couple options coming up, or doing a triangle shawl or something like that, because I think it would be fun in there, the color variation. So that is my finished spinning project. I do have another braid here from the same dyer, and it's this beautiful, somewhat muted colors with the orange and then the green. And so I thought I would get started, well, in fact, there's even some light white in there too. So I thought I would start, this would be my next project for my wheel. I have a couple things on my hand spindles which need some attention, but you know, there's only so much time in the day. So I will add this to my wheel probably this weekend. I have a little bit of, we're kind of busy this weekend, but I still might get it at least set on the wheel and going. So let's talk next about future knitting. I'm going to be putting some pictures up here as we talk about these future knitting patterns that are kind of been on my mind. So a little bit about the socks. We'll start with those first. I I have a lot of socks that I'm going to be knitting this year, and so I wanted to keep it fresh and engaging and maybe learning some new techniques. So I did, after my February socks, when I was casting on for my March sock, I printed off 5 or 6 patterns that interested me, I thought would be fun and engaging, and so that's what these are. The first one I will have already shown you. It's the Wish You Were Here socks. So those ones are for March, which I'm currently working on. This next one is a Patton's Croix sock pattern, and it is called the Graphic Chevrons. I liked how the colors themselves, I'm sure you can have fun with those too, but I liked the patterning on the leg with the chevron. I thought would be really fun and very engaging. So I printed that one off. I also did, this one's got a lot of pages to it. This is the Autumn Fires sock, and it is by La Maison de Saba, and it's more of a recipe, but it does require knowledge on sock construction that you just do yourself. So it looked, there's like 5 pages to this sock pattern. So that one looks interesting. But I loved how just the different texture of knitting and purling played together to create this pattern. So I thought that would be fun, and probably would be good on like a variegated yarn or a semi-solid yarn, which I do have. I don't have all of my yarn actually picked out yet, but I will probably use some from my shop, as well as I've bought several from Paradise Fiber. Okay, this next one is called the Woodland Walk, and it is by I don't understand why they don't put it on the printed pattern right next to the title. That seems like that would make sense to me, but it is not. It's not on the second page. Okay, well, I may have to look it up and add it here. Oh, pattern and photography is by Olivia Villarreal. Anyway, I'll put that information here. What I am planning to do with these patterns is to do them exactly to pattern, and then just adjust for sizing, because the Woodland Walk is for a woman's medium, while I'm doing a man's sock. So I am going to have to adjust, you know, based off of that. So keeping that in mind, but otherwise I'm going to do it per the pattern. Now this last one I thought just looked really fun. It's called the SquirrelySocks, and it's by Erna de Groot, and it has a lot going on. So I thought if I worked ahead that these would be good to kind of take my time on and have fun with them. So they're color work, as you can see here in this picture. They have squirrels on them. They're super fun. I just thought they would be great. Maybe a little too themed for my husband, but I think he would still enjoy them. And color work they would be extra squishy and extra warm. So you can't go wrong with that. Okay, so that's it for future sock knitting. Now let's talk about future garment knitting, because I am starting to think that way with the fact that I'm on the body of my Agnes sweater. I have a couple things in my Ravelry that I favorited years ago and have never done. So, and Agnes was actually one of those. So I'm kind of ticking them off. This first one here, and I'll post some pictures as I'm talking about it. This one appeals to me a lot because it's cable work, which I don't do a lot of, so it would be challenging to me, which I love that. I love a good challenge. It's the Ingrid Slipover by PetiteKnit, and she has it knit in this dark color, which looks phenomenal. I would probably do it also in a dark color. I love the different cables that are going on here. They're not just all one cable. It's got a lot of different variety. I also feel like this would be good for that in-between season where spring and fall is warm and cold, kind of all over the place. So you could, like she has here in this picture, put on a long sleeve shirt or have a short sleeve shirt if it's warmer. The other two that I have on this list are cardigans. They're actually both by Andrea Mowry, because I was really into her initially. And again, these have been on my Ravelry for a long time. But I love cardigans because they just help to complete an outfit. So if you have a cute outfit, a cute dress, or something like that, I just feel like a cardigan kind of pulls it all together. The right cardigan. So this cardigan looks sloppy because it's very ill-fitting. And so I've learned a lot in my knitting journey. And so these two cardigans, I feel like I could probably do very well. The first one, again by Andrea Mowry, is called the Ginny. And I love this one because it fits that stylish. It's got a belt with it. It looks heavier, so not fingering weight like this one. And it just looks classy. So I would probably knit it in a darker color as well, kind of what she has here going on, because I think that just looks classic. Now, a fun one, which I was talking about maybe using this part of this for, is the Spark Cardi. Also, it's actually not the Cardi, Spark Cardi. It's just the Spark. But it's a cardigan by Andrea Mowry. And it is similar style as the Ginny, but it's longer. It has a belt. It seems thicker, but I actually haven't read through the pattern to see what weights of yarn. But it's longer. It fits more past your waist, whereas the Ginny is kind of up a little bit. And the Spark is color work. So there's a lot of different things going on for it that I feel like would be fun to do. So that's kind of my thoughts on future knitting. I will probably pick one to do and plan for, because I will likely dye the yarn myself depending on what the pattern actually calls for. So that is kind of, and I'm leaning towards the Ingrid Slipover because we're going into spring. So it would kind of make more sense, I think, to do that. I know a lot of people, I've been watching a couple vlogs, and a lot of people are already talking about knitting things for the spring. And I do have some cotton yarn that I could knit a tank top or something like that. But I would have to find one that would fit my body style. The ones that I've been seeing are really slim fitting. They're very, I don't know, they're just not quite what I'm thinking about when I think of like a tank top or a short sleeve tee or something like that. So if you have any recommendations, put them in the comments below. Otherwise, I might get on Ravelry today and do a little research on that. So I think that's it. I have some spinning video that I'm going to put at the end about my chain plying experience with this. You'll see here that I had a little bit of a rough start with the yarn, reattaching it to another bobbin. And then I had trouble figuring out how to make the loop, as you'll see here, figuring out how to make the loop so that I could start the chain ply. And then after that, it was pretty much smooth sailing. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. So that will be following behind here. And then that's it from me. So, I hope you all are having fun spinning or knitting or crocheting, maybe even some sewing. So, yeah, have a great day, and I'll see you in a couple weeks.